Rituals in Slavic Pre-Christian Religion by Juan Antonio Álvarez-Pedrosa and Enrique Santos Marinas. Book Review. TLDR. Do not recommend. Having committed myself to read more in English on the topic of Slavic culture, I reached for Rituals in Slavic Pre-Christian Religion, pretty much certain that it would be a book worth my time and money, since it is co-authored by Juan Antonio Álvarez-Pedrosa. I could not have been more wrong if I had tried. To put it simply, the book is stupid. It lacks logic, critical thinking, and, in general, decent scholarship. The only real difference between this book and any publication by chief folklore generator Patricia Woodroof is that while Patricia bases her mental diarrheas on her own delusions, the authors of this book base theirs on historical sources. Other than that, both are essentially identical. The book claims to be attempting to reconstruct rituals in Slavic pre-Christian religion, but what it really does is generate messy, illogical, and at times rather diluted interpretations built on the author's stream of consciousness like loose and random associations. To give you an example, in the second chapter the authors set out to reconstruct fertility rites. They start with Saxo Grammaticus and his description of a harvest ritual in the sanctuary of Arcona. They describe the ritual and correctly identify the first part, checking the level of liquor in Sventovit's drinking horn, emptying the horn at the foot of Sventovit's statue, and refilling the horn as augury. Yet the part that was actually most directly related to ensuring a future good harvest and fertility, when the priest stands behind a big cake and wishes that in the following year he will not be visible from behind it, receives strangely little emphasis in their broader analysis. Instead, the authors highlight the triadic invocation, the priest's toast to himself, the homeland and the people, and seem to treat drinking from the horn itself as a core fertility rite. At the end of the chapter, after going through some more sources and carefully ignoring the big cake from Arcona, they conclude that fertility rites consist of offering of food and drink, the ritualized actions of singing, dancing, and playing games, as well as water as a symbol of fertility, which comes across less as rigorous analysis and more like selective cherry-picking. After reading the fertility chapter, I experienced a genuine WTF moment, but decided to soldier on, since at this stage I was becoming increasingly curious what the authors would reconstruct as the other rituals, given that they had just basically stuffed the entirety of literally every type of Slavic ritual into the fertility drawer. However, I have to admit, with a slight sense of shame, that I only lasted another 30 pages before I gave up on this BS. On those additional 30 pages I managed to get through, I found such gems as the authors claiming that Slavs inherit the Indo-European tradition of military expansion. 100% ahistorically suggesting thus that engaging in military expansion is not a feature of humanity, but a feature of Indo-Europeans. This made me ponder about the Mongols. Aztecs, Japanese, Turks, Arabs, Huns, Manchus, Assyrians, Sumerians, Austronesians, and that's mentioning only a handful, and from where they inherited their tradition of military expansion. The authors claiming that Slavs killing their enemies must have been a ritual killing, perhaps even a sacrifice, since it was characterized by brutality. This statement truly stunned me, but I did regain my composure and, to reassure myself, looked up ancient and early medieval military customs, confirming that the Slavs were not in fact more or less brutal than others in those times. I wonder what the authors would say about the Assyrians, who literally invented governance by terror, about the Mongols, who, as it is estimated, mass murdered between 20 to 60 million people, or about the Turkic Mongol Tamerlane, who had a custom of slaughtering whole cities of up to 100,000 people, leaving behind literal pyramids of skulls. The authors claim that the white and black pieces of wood used in divination in some areas of Slavdom constitute positive evidence for the existence of Slavic runes, as well as a white-black god dichotomy. The internal logic of this statement is entirely lacking, so try as I might, I am unable to explain to you on what evidence or reasoning the authors arrive at such a conclusion. The authors conclude that Oldenburg's Prone prove, reported by Helmold of Bassau in 1156, and Perun are one and the same god because first, the primary chronicle reports that in 941 warriors took an oath to Perun. Second, Helmold of Bassau in 1156 wrote that a Prone prove had an oak grove dedicated to him in which justice was administered, and b. that the Slavs rarely accept solemn oaths, as for the Slavs swearing is like perjury, and with it they expose themselves to the vengeful wrath of the gods. Third, the primary chronicle mentions that in 1071 two sorcerers were hanged from an oak tree. Literally, these are the three arguments that are supposed to lead logically to the conclusion that Prone, Prove, and Perun are one and the same god. What's absolutely hilarious is that while the authors are 100% certain that the hanging of two sorcerers from an oak in 1071 was without a doubt the result of Prone/Prove/Perun's divine justice, when a heathen priest from the city of Volin was strangled with a rope while being tied to an oak tree by some merchants and sailors, as reported by Herbord in his 12th century chronicle, that was most definitely not divine punishment. According to the authors, it was, wait for it, a ritual human sacrifice. By the way, even though I did not manage to finish the book, I did peek into the funerary rites chapter to try to figure out how the authors handled feasting at funerals, given that they have already classified feasting as a Slavic fertility rite. I did not read much because the author's abysmal grasp of logic makes the book a torture to read. But it seems to me that the authors simply defaulted to circular arguments and concluded that funerary rites were in fact fertility rites, which at this stage of my adventure with rituals in Slavic pre-Christian religion did not surprise me at all. To summarize, the book is bad. It lacks logic, rigorous scholarship, and any sort of sensible reasoning. I tried to find some positives in it, but I failed. Do not buy it, do not read it. And if anyone recommends it to you, consider it a sign that this someone either did not read the book or is just plain and simply stupid.